Fifth grade. It is now time to begin our World War II unit, a major war in United States history. First, we must talk about the causes of World War II. Let's talk about Germany. Do you remember the Treaty of Versailles? Many Germans were angry that they had to pay reparations to European countries. When the Great Depression came, Germany suffered more than most countries. Many Germans were unemployed. There's Germany on a world map. Adolf Hitler. In 1933, a new leader came to power with the promise of a bright future. His name was Adolf Hitler. Hitler became the dictator of Germany during World War II. Hitler was a horrible racist and was eventually responsible for the Holocaust, in which he had about 12 million people killed. Hitler was a dictator. A dictator is a ruler who has absolute power. Hitler believed in fascism. Fascism is when the government has control over every aspect of the country. Germans were excited about the promises that Hitler made. They want Germany to be a proud and strong nation again. So how did Hitler come to power? He lied to his people and they believed his lies. Now that is the Germany or the Nazi flag during the time. Nazi was the name of Hitler's political party, the Nazi Party. Fascism began to spread all around the world. Germany, Italy, and Japan all had dictators. These three countries form the Axis powers. The Axis powers were considered the bad guys or the aggressors in World War II. They were the countries that allied together and tried to take over the world. Italy's dictator was Benito Mussolini. Italy took over Albania and Ethiopia in Africa. Hirohito was the emperor of Japan. He was viewed as a god by his people. Japan took over regions in China, the Philippines, and islands in the Pacific. In 1936, Hitler rejected the Treaty of Versailles and started building up the military. In 1938, the Axis powers, led by Germany, began invading other countries, taking their land by force. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Now this is considered the beginning of World War II, when Germany invaded Poland. Hitler began suddenly attacking countries that surrounded Germany and taking them over using a strategy called Blitzkrieg, which means lightning war. He took over Czechoslovakia, Poland, Denmark, and eventually France, just to name a few. He was trying to take over the world, or at least all of Europe. And this made people very afraid. So World War II began. Japan wanted to take over Asia and the entire Pacific. They attacked and conquered parts of China and the Philippines and most of the small islands in the Pacific. It wasn't until they attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, that they ran into trouble. Several countries agreed to help each other and formed the Allied Powers. When Hitler invaded Poland, the Allied Powers declared war on Germany. Then Italy and Japan declared war on the Allied Powers. World War II begins. The Allied Powers were Great Britain, France, Canada, the Soviet Union, which included Russia, and the United States after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. The leaders of the Allied Powers, also known as the Big Three: Franklin Roosevelt, President of the United States; Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of Great Britain; Joseph Stalin, the dictator of the Soviet Union. FDR, or Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was the President of the United States before the war began and throughout most of the war. He died in April of 1945, just before the war ended. Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of Great Britain during World War II. Great Britain was the one country that Hitler couldn't defeat despite many efforts to do so. Churchill famously said, "We will never surrender." Joseph Stalin was the worst good guy ever. He was the dictator of the Soviet Union, or Russia. He originally made an alliance or agreement to help Hitler, but Hitler broke the promise and tried to invade Russia. Stalin joined the Allies. Last but not least, have a nice day.